Hello, I'm Harry Bucknall. Thank you for downloading Human Not Heroic, the podcast from Blesma, the Limbless veterans.
My lords, I have to acquaint the House that His Majesty has appointed Lieutenant General Ed Davis to be Gentleman Usher of the Black Rod in succession to Sarah Clark, and that he is at the door ready to receive your lordship's commands.
Human Not Heroic, telling the reality, the everyday, and the how of life for limbless veterans, I headed to London and the House of Lords to meet with Lieutenant General Ed Davis, who served for 35 years in the Royal Marines and after a distinguished career retired in 2016, having been Deputy Commander NATO Allied Line Command in Izmir, Turkey. After, General Davis was Governor of Gibraltar for 4 years until 2020. In July this year, he was appointed Gentleman Usher of the Black Rod by His Majesty the King, responsible for access, order and ceremonial within the precincts of the House of Lords. Succeeding General Sir Adrian Bradshaw as Chair of Blesma, the Limbless Veterans, in June 2024, it was not to discuss the workings of Parliament that I had travelled to Westminster to meet General Davis, but to gain a wider understanding of the charity's operations today and an insight as to plans, developments and goals for the year ahead. As is traditional, we started at the beginning.
We'll start at the beginning, shall we? You succeeded General Sir Adrian Bradshaw as Chair of Blesma, the Limbless Veterans, a charity whose roots trace back to the First World War when Limbless veterans numbered over 40,000. It is a unique charity. It is the only National Armed Forces charity that specialises in supporting Limbless veterans. What was your view when you got approached to take up the job?
Well, I was very struck by the wonderful opportunity that it presented. I felt humbled, honoured and excited in equal measure. And why do I say that? I say that because both General Sir Adrian Bradshaw and indeed his predecessor, General Sir Cedric Dalls, were people I'd worked with before, who I very much respected. So for them to ask me to take on a role that they had done so admirably was a great opportunity for me, and also I was humbled by the confidence they obviously had in me. So that was the first thing, was a reaction to who had asked me. The second thing was the wonderful opportunity to be associated, as you've said, with one of the UK's leading military charities, well, the one that solely focuses on warrior patriots who've served and suffered in terms of limb loss of the use of the limbs, or indeed loss of sight. And it has a unique remit to do that. So that is an opportunity that I feel is very exciting to me in terms of being able to offer something that is true value added to the military veteran community. And then finally, it was an opportunity to get back closely connected with the veteran military community, many of them who I've had the privilege to serve with. And it was just an opportunity for me to help Blesma with their mission to give this community the sense and practical manifestation of independence, and through that allowing them to lead fulfilled, enjoyable and contributory lives.
How do you define the individual spirit of Blesma members themselves?
Well, I think that the first thing to say is that none of them allow themselves to be defined by their injury. And I find that an inspiration. They have, in many cases, not only physical but also, mental conditions that you might think that would limit their zeal for life, would limit their ambition, would limit their sense of spirit. But that's not the case, and I find that a great inspiration. And it's just great to be around people who deal with adversity in that way. And their resilience and their just desire not to give up and to make sure that they do have independent and fulfilling lives and they do achieve all the ambitions that they have. And I think that is something that's great to be around, as I've said. But also, they're military veterans, and they have the wit, they have the character, and they have the experiences, all of which I love to share, because that's where I came from too.
You have this great appointment as Black Rod in the House of Lords, which is a very busy job. How do you balance your role as chair of Blesma, which is also time-consuming, with the job you have here at the House of Lords?
Balance is difficult, but I have identified in my life, my working life, two key things that I want to be able to deliver and hopefully make a small difference in a small way. And Blesma and the House of Lords, Black Rod is two of them. So I'm lucky to have leadership here in the House of Lords that allow me the opportunity, like I'm doing now, to talk to you. So that's the first thing, is having an understanding employer. I think the second thing is Hazel, my private secretary, who looks after my diary, who basically runs my life, does a very good job at meshing everything together in a way that works. And then finally, what's got me through all of my career to this date, I've got a lovely wife who supports me, helps me, tolerates me, and allows me to have the space and time to do the things that I'm passionate about. And Blesma is one of them.
The charity's mantra for Remembrance Day was remember the dead, support the living. Today, there are 2,600 members of the charity and their families, including 400 widows and widowers, many of whom are elderly, isolated, or living with complex physical and mental health conditions. 25% of the members are over 70. And it strikes me that long after the band stopped playing, we have a duty of care to our Limbless veterans that far outweighs other charities.
Blesma's mission is a forever through life mission. And we have to have very much a long-term view on providing the support that our people need and deserve. So it is something that we do very much take a long-term vision for. We also understand that the challenges that are presented to our members change over time, and therefore our support needs to be constantly evolving, whether that's in welfare, whether it's in activities, or indeed means of connectivity and communication. So again, against the long term, we recognise that our support requirements evolves. And also I think that the other particular challenge is we need to have an organisation that delivers for people that are over 70 as much as it delivers for people that are under 25. And again, that is a challenge, but I think it's another unique aspect of how Blesma approaches giving that independence and fulfilling life that our members so richly deserve.
One aspect of that challenge of the lower quartile of the demographic, as it were, the younger members, is that 44 members, all under the age of 70, are triple amputees.
I think the reality of modern warfare is that the survival rates are far greater than they used to be. I think that the survival rates in Afghanistan were around about 30% greater than they were in the Second World War. And that means that people who've experienced combat, blast, trauma are more likely to survive than they were. And in doing so, they're more likely to have a larger number of more complex injuries, like the 44 triple amputees that are members of Blesma. So again, I think that's raised the bar in terms of the challenge for charities, not just Blesma, but all the military charities, is that the people that we care about and the people we're looking after have greater complexity and breadth in the medical challenges. And, that's again something that we need to embrace. It's something that we need to work with partners, and we work very closely with the Confederation of Service Charities to get ahead of that and try and predict as much as we can to make sure that not only the resources in place, but also in our case, the prosthetics are in place to be able to cater for not just people with one limb lost, but with maybe 3 limbs lost. And that's, as I say, is our forever mission.
In that sense, charity is permanently operational, because it's not the case that you get given a new limb and off you go, because that limb and the stump that it is adhered to changes shape, and you get sores, and it is never given that you're always going to be able to walk as once you've got your first limb fitted. That's a great challenge for charity. It must mean they've got to keep on top of all their members all the time. That's quite a responsibility.
It's a responsibility, and you mentioned the word communications, which I think communications is the key part of delivering that responsibility. And we're very much focused on being an organisation for members, that communicates with our members, connects our members, so we all, as part of the Blesma family, can understand, as you say, these forever changing dynamics. And it can be on the nature of how a prosthetic fits to your body. It can be evolving mobility challenges in the home. It could be the activities that you need as you go through that journey and cope with some of these constantly evolving dynamics that you have. So over a year, and the figures that are finalised, obviously we haven't finished 2025, but in 2024, we conducted over 1,300 home visits and 18,500 engagements with various members, which I think illustrates, against a population of 2,600 members, the importance that we place within communication to understand where our members are, what their requirements and needs are, and then have the conversation of how we best meet those. So we don't impose, we listen, we understand, and then we help our members to be given what they need to live those independent, fulfilling lives, which is our forever mission.
You've been in the chair, as chair, for almost 18 months now. What is your view of charity today? If you had the elevator pitch to give, how would you give that?
Well, I suppose many people who are listening to me in the elevator might say I'm biased, but I think that what I would highlight to answer that question is that I've been involved in the management of a lot of large organisations in my time and have enjoyed that responsibility. But I see an organisation that is unified in its sense of purpose. It is an organisation that harnesses the power of combinations, very much centred on our members. It's an organisation that thinks ahead, as I've already talked about. And it's an organisation that, mainly through our members, we put a lot of effort in connecting to our benefactors, who are absolutely essential for us to be able to deliver what we want to deliver. So I sit at the chair of the Board of Trustees, and I recognise an organisation that does all of those things, and it does it well, not perfectly. We can always learn from partners. We can always embrace best practice wherever we might find it. But because we have that unified approach, driven by the members' needs, understanding that the well-being, activity and communication is the foundation, and understanding that collaboration is our path to success. as an organisation which I think delivers very well in a tough environment for military charities. We always have to be prepared for the next war. And Russia has brought war back to Europe on a scale and ferocity that we haven't seen in Europe since the Second World War. I think in the Second World War there was some 12,000 British servicemen and women who suffered limb loss. But as we all read about, there's 25,000 and probably some more who have already lost limbs in Ukraine. So the potential, should the UK, NATO ever get involved in another conflict in Europe, then clearly there is going to be an increase of servicemen and women who have lost limbs, and we need to be prepared to be able to meet that. Bearing in mind that Afghanistan, one is too many. There were just over 300 servicemen and women who lost limbs through combat blast trauma. If you compare that with the figure I've already talked about in Second World War casualties, and indeed what's already happened in Ukraine, you can see that there would be a very big increase potentially in members for Blesma who have lost limbs. So we need to be ready for that and as best we can. So that's another pressure that we have to do in terms of fundraising. And for me it's all about that collaboration, working hand in glove with other partners, with government agencies who have such initiatives such as the Veterans Mobility Fund, which allows us to leverage public monies for our veteran community. But it's trying to get that collective approach such that the power of combinations, because if you try and do it all on your own, you're never going to achieve it, particularly when you've got the growing complexity of injuries I've talked about, but also should the numbers increase if a war was to happen that the UK was involved in at a scale we haven't done since the Second World War.
Blesma, as a charity, has a long history of victory over government in terms of winning war pensions and gaining equality in terms of rights and so on when it comes to pensions and war disability allowances. How do you see that we are presently placed?
Well, I wouldn't characterise it as victory at all. I think we work in partnership with government. We have the Office of Veteran Affairs, which has just been brought back into the Ministry of Defence. So I think we are connected in a way which allows us to work together, and we're doing some great work through initiatives such as the Veterans Mobility Fund. So again, it's all about the collaboration and the communication and the collective effort to deliver. And the Confederation of Service Charities, General Sir Nick Pope leads that organisation, and we come together as a military charity community, and they communicate with government in the main. I'm sure that the government will support us in the great way, the understanding way, the sympathetic way, and the effective way that they've done previously.
Looking ahead, what are the priorities for the charity in 2026?
We have 4 priorities. First and foremost is to sustain what we call Blesma's distinctive and decisive mindset. Firstly, our members come first. Secondly, assured health, activity and communication is our foundation. And then thirdly, collaboration is our path to success. So that's the first priority. Secondly, we're 2 years into our 5-year strategic plan, which is aimed at achieving a sustainable, balanced budget by 2029, which meets the evolving needs that we've discussed earlier of our members. And that's particularly focused on efforts around our fundraising and some of the initiatives. We've got a TV and online messaging campaign called Human Not Heroic. And again, that's our endeavour to reach out to benefactors, explain what we need, and to harness their great generosity. The third one is to keep on chipping away and and underpinning and energising our collaboration amongst other service charities, government agencies, their initiatives, and I've already mentioned the Veterans Mobility Fund, our private sector partners who make the prosthetics, really all to pool our resources, expertise, enhance our effectiveness and better support our members.
The cost of a prosthetic limb these days is a huge amount of money. I mean, tens of thousands of pounds. They need these limbs to survive, just to lead a normal life of dignity, which is our mission.
They absolutely do. What we do is we tailor the solution to the challenge that a member is experiencing, and that can cover, as you allude to, a range of prosthetics. It can tailor to and also include a range of home adaptations as well, and a range of well-being activities. So it's all about tailoring what the individual requirement is to what's available for them to be able to meet that requirement. But you are right, these are cutting-edge pieces of equipment which have physical, technical componentry which is well-leading, but also well-leading software that come together to provide the effect that they need to achieve to assure their fulfilment and allow them to achieve their ambitions.
I think you talk about well-being activities. These are not just jollies going off somewhere sunny to climb a mountain. These are activities which give the limbless the confidence to just lead life in a routine daily manner. That's very important, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, effectively, it's about bringing the community together. That's what the activity's for. And once the members are together, then that creates a conversation, which creates the fellowship, creates the camaraderie, which ultimately is the key to the success of Blesma.
Now, Ed, you're a rum marine, and we know you've jumped around a bit. I mean, have you got any thoughts about getting the abseiling rope out and showing them how it's done?
Not recently. Last time I did that was when I was governor in Gibraltar with the Scouts, and I made not a great showing. I wasn't hugely impressive. Both in the trepidation of jumping off and the style with which I did jump off the building. But so, no, there's far better people to lead activities than me. But I think if I can come to my fourth priority, just on the back of that question, Harry, I think that there is the physical aspect of it, but I think the area that we're focusing on next year is very much a growing emphasis on mental health support through sort of increasingly provision of holistic well-being programs. And the one I would flag up is our storytelling and well-being program, which is all about what I've just talked about, is bringing members together, getting them and giving them the opportunity to share their experiences. And out of that comes a sense of belonging, a sense of shared understanding, and a sense of, and indeed practical ability to, present a view of what they as individuals, what we as an organisation can do individually and collectively to deliver our mission in support of our members.
Is it an information exchange too?
There's nobody better to talk to a member than another member about how you deal with limb loss or loss of use of limb, or indeed loss of sight, because the people you're talking to have lived with it, have understood it, have coped with it, and have led fulfilled lives with it and enjoyed their lives and haven't allowed it to hold them back. So those are the people that can help them, the other members, and that's the essence of what we try and do is create that conversation among members, create that connectivity between them, but also create the opportunity for them to come together and do stuff together and learn from each other.
It is Christmas time. As chair of Blesma, the Limbless Veterans, what is your message?
Well, at the outset, in terms of a message, I'd just like to say reiterate my respect and pay tribute to the members that continue to not be defined by their injuries. The resilience and endeavour every day, day in, day out, as I've already said, is an inspiration. It's an inspiration to Blesma. It's an inspiration to the wider veteran charity community. I think it's also an inspiration to our country. So thank you would be my first message to members. I'm very much focused on our members. Secondly is to say thank you to our Blesma team, our Blesma volunteers, and vitally our benefactors from across the country who so selflessly, so tirelessly, so effectively and so generously work every hour that they have, and probably a lot more than they're paid for, to actually make sure that the lives of our members are as fulfilled as they possibly can be, and we meet their needs absolutely as we should do. And then finally, I would like to say to the whole Blesma family and to everybody that supports us, we, the Blesma board, wish you a very Merry Christmas, healthy, happy, fulfilled, independent 2026.
General Ed Davis, Blackrod, Chair of Blesma, the Limbless Veterans, thank you for being my guest on Human Not Heroic.
Pleasure. Thank you, Harry.
And my thanks to General Ed Davis for being my guest on the podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this programme, please subscribe to the Human Not Heroic podcast. Share on socials and tell a friend, or tell two. To learn more about the vital work Blesma undertakes supporting our limbless veterans, or to make a donation, please visit blesma.org. Do join us next month when Human Not Heroic takes to the high seas as we head to the Isle of Wight to learn about the challenges of everyday life with the loss of an eye. And finally, may 2026 bring good fortune, success and joy and abundance. A very happy new year to you all. From me, Harry Bucknall, thank you for listening and farewell.
Most famously, Blackrod is renowned for summoning the House of Commons to the House of Lords with the famous 3 bangs on the door with the rod itself. Do you have to practice that?
I haven't had a state opening yet, but trust me, before I do bang the door for real, so to speak, I will be practicing.
On the door, Hayne, with your wife Lorraine, will she be upset about that? Or
I think Lorraine might be very upset, and rightly so if I practice on her. Now, I suspect I'll be practicing on the door of the House of Commons, but lightly, and at a time when nobody's watching.
I've got to ask, what happens if it breaks?
It won't break, because I've been told how to hold it to make sure it doesn't break. This is passed down from black rod to black rod, so like a lot of the secrets of black rod, they're kept between the black rod community.
I think that's a wrap, is it?
I think it's fine. Did you get what you needed?
Yeah, I think so.
For His Romance, Sans Parole, No. 3, Opus 17, was played by the late Hiroshi Munakawa. Available at piano1001.com, a classicals.de recording. Auld Lang Syne was performed by the band of the Royal Regiment of Scotland. With studio editing by Michael Siriano, this has been a Gamekeeper production for Blesma, the Limbless Veterans.